Howdy, this is Mackenzie Franklin from SideGame LLC here in Colorado Springs, Colorado. Today we're going to be taking a look and organizing Uwe Rosenberg's Glass Road. This is the reprinted edition published by Capstone Games and Fearland. Now with that being said, this is a fully sleeved copy of the game that does include all of Capstone Games' promos. So all of these are in the core box here and everything has no lid lift. It's a nice tight package, but with that being said, let's go ahead and take a look inside. So first off, we'll lift off the lid here, and inside you'll see that we are pretty packed tight. First thing I want to talk about is this right side here. These are going to be all of your building tiles. So we use this organizer from the Dollar Tree. These are unfortunately a little bit harder to find. These are makeup boxes. They're going to be holding all of your different colors, which is great because you can shuffle them before you put them in at the end of every game. And then when you start, you just lift the top off and put this on the side, and then you'll be able to pick and choose the appropriate tiles when you need to refill them. So I really like this organizer, but if you're having trouble finding this one, you can instead use some of these microfiber bags. If you go to the BGG store, there are some really nice different colored ones, and so you can pick the colors that match these different types of buildings so you can refill them from the bag. So in that case, you don't even need to randomize them because they'll be randomized in the bags already. Works extremely well. Either of these is fine, so pick the one that you see fit. Now that being said, let's go ahead and move on to these small containers. These are 10 for $1 at the Dollar Tree. You can also use plastic bags, but I really like these. You can pop the top off, put them on the board like this, and they have their own little tray. They're ready to go. So put them next to your other buildings. So this is going to be for your ponds, as well as your forests, and lastly for your pits. I forget what these are called. Where you get the clay from. Up next, we're going to talk about the player components. Each of these is going to have your starting tiles, so you'll have 2 of each of the landscapes, 6 of your forests, as well as all of your resource tokens. And then lastly, you'll have all of the character cards, 15 for each player, with their specific crest on the back here for the colors, I guess, of the players. We use the Monster board game sleeves here. I think they work extremely well. I really like how they come in packs of hundreds, and they are pretty dang durable, pretty thick micron. So really like these. I'll leave a link in the description below for the specific brand that I use. But you're going to do that for pretty much all of these, except for one of them, particularly the blue player, so the blue crest on the back. You are going to include the solo components with them. So they're going to have a Harlequin card that's special, and you'll also need to include a D6 that is not included into the game if you decide to use the Harlequin promo. And then lastly, I put the solo reference as well as the first player marker in here. So the blue player is kind of the one that consistently is brought out, and these are just in here to make sure that they're in every single game. So that is an option. Make sure that you do get that D6. And you'll need to use that if you decide on using that Harlequin card. We've got a silica gel packet in here, and then the other 2 player components are pretty much the same. So we'll go ahead and just put those out. Underneath that, we'll have your 4 boards for your different resource markers. I think the system is really cool, so you'll go ahead and assemble those. They have all the pieces that you'll need, but when you're done, you can definitely just set them up so that the arrows are at the top here, and that way they're ready to go, or you can let everybody kind of figure it out when they start, which makes sense, right? You got to have the glass and the brick up here. So you got your 4 boards here. Just make sure they're in there. You have that main board where you're going to be stacking the tiles. As I said earlier, it's really nice to have these in this specific order, so you can just put them next to it and then refill it when need be. This is double-sided for the different player counts. And lastly, you have the landscape board for the different players, and this tells you which tiles to make sure that are in your starting bag, as well as where they go at the start, and then some of your starting buildings, and those extra slots for your extra bonus cards for each round. So all 4 of those just in the bottom. And lastly, our rulebook. Keep it on the bottom here so it stays nice and flat and it doesn't get damaged. This has a nice reference appendix, and read the strategy guide. I think Mr. Rosenberg here has some great tips for new players. So fantastic package. And that's everything in the box. Let's go ahead and pack it up. So first off, we start with that rulebook. Keep it nice and flat. All of our player boards, as well as our main market board in the center here, our different resource wheels, our player tiles for the different buildings, and then we have all of the different resource producing type of tiles. We'll put them to the side like so. That way they fit nicely. And then we're going to put all of your player components. So you'll have some that are sideways like so, keeping everything nice and flat, making best use of our space. And then we'll drape the last one on top here. Lastly, our silica gel packet for freshness, and that is organizing Uwe Rosenberg's Glass Road. If you have any questions about what you saw here, please let me know down in the comments below. How do you organize your copy of Glass Road? Is this one you're excited to jump into for the reprint? I'd love to hear what you think. But thank you so much for watching SideGame Strong.